good reason to believe Donald Trump was chosen to be the one to redeem the sins of Esav through offering his assistance in rebuilding the Holy Temple on the Temple Mount and establishing the Jewish kingdom over all of mankind in Jerusalem.
So maybe I'm getting this wrong, but if I speak English, I'm pretty sure that he just said the Jews are going to rule the world and America can come and bow at our feet and beg for supremacy, and maybe we'll be kind and give it to them.
Conspiracy theories are entering a
Information is the oxygen of the democracy.
There's so much evidence out there that even if less than 1% is true, that would be enough to collapse the current paradigm and change the whole planet.
We'll get into the Tucker report in a minute. But first, let's pop in to the conflict map and do a little catch up. Because the war is heating up and it's not going very well and it's very complicated to track. So you kind of need a lot of time on your hands or some good aggregators of information to sift through the propaganda and the narratives and all that. There are a lot of good journalists out there doing a lot of great coverage, a lot of independent journalists and open source investigators that are sort of parsing through the censorship and the propaganda and all of that. And rather than starting on the map, let's start with an overview and then do some kind of journalistic. Let's pop through a bunch of journalism that I already have open, and then we'll come back and see if there's anything new on the map. It's worth noting that the U.S. approved an emergency weapons sale to Israel. A whole bunch of new bombs, 12,000 BLU 110A and B 1,000-pound bomb bodies, along with engineering, logistics, and technical support. Sold to Israel. Got to keep the money flowing, obviously. Got to keep the war machine churning so that all of the billionaires can make more money, so that Israel can keep on bombing everybody. We're going to get into the desalination plant strikes quite a bit today, I suspect. The U.S. struck a Iranian desalination plant, and if you don't know, the Middle East is entirely dependent on desalination plants for their water. And so striking a desalination plant is a strong escalation from military targets to overtly civilian targets that will inherently kill probably thousands of people. And it's a dangerous escalation, as we're going to discuss, because the allied countries are far more vulnerable to this form of attack than Iran is. Bahrain is nearly 100% reliant on desalination water. Qatar, heavily reliant. UAE, heavily reliant. Saudi Arabia, heavily reliant on desalination. Israel is also quite reliant on desalination plants. And so we've already seen how the Allied interceptor stockpile has been greatly degraded, and interceptions are way down. So Iran is hitting way more targets now, and it has all these drones that can destroy things like desalination plants. And all of the allied Middle Eastern nations' desalination infrastructure is just wide open if Iran wants to retaliate in kind. And so by opening the door to hitting water facilities, the U.S. and Israel have just sort of laid their allies wide the fuck open to some really horrendous retaliation if Iran chooses to do so. And we've already seen, I believe, the beginnings of them doing so. Sayed, the Iranian foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, condemned the strike, saying the U.S. committed a blatant and desperate crime by attacking a freshwater desalination plant on Keshem Island. Water supply in 30 villages has been impacted. Attacking Iran's infrastructure is a dangerous move with grave consequences. The U.S. set this precedent, not Iran. And yeah, remember that. Remember that when the Israeli propaganda comes out, that we set this precedent. Our most moral militaries in the world set the precedent of attacking civilian water infrastructure. In what, to me, from my outside non-expert look, appears to be sort of like a little brother move of like, man, we're not winning, like, then we'll fucking kick over your water glass. It's like, bitch, your water is wide open to attack. It's feeling a little short-sighted to me, but hey, who am I? I'm just some random motherfucker that doesn't know what's going on. And then there's a bunch of reporting on President Trump attending the ceremony for the return of the 6 killed U.S. service members. There's also a lot of rumbling about more dead U.S. service members that might be getting covered up. There might be some fudging of numbers going on. I think there's definitely fudging of Israeli numbers, but it's starting to look more and more like there are U.S. service member deaths that are not being reported. It's looking like there's a lot of things that are not being reported. Go figure. So we'll dig a little bit into that today. And the big one to watch is that a U.S.-Israeli strike hit Iran's oil infrastructure and lit it the fuck up. They hit a refinery, I believe. And again, an escalation that is pretty brazen and brave given how exposed all the Middle Eastern allied nations' oil infrastructure is. Sure, you can hurt Iran this way, but how much do you hurt yourself? Because there's no defenses for Saudi Arabia's oil infrastructure, Qatar's gas infrastructure. All of these Middle Eastern nations are wide open, and they do not have the interceptor stockpiles to protect all that oil infrastructure, as well as all the military bases, as well as all the ships, etc. So I do not understand what we're doing here. The countries that rely on the oil from the Middle East, I mean, basically the entire world relies on the oil from the Middle East, and it's going to affect the entire global stock market, the entire global energy market. But more directly, it's going to affect our allied nations in the Gulf. There's a lot of reporting this morning of blackened skies and acid rain over Iran, and we'll get into some of that. The fallout from these fires and from strikes on their oil infrastructure. But between the attacks on the oil infrastructure and the attacks on the water infrastructure, the escalation is pretty dramatic and pretty overt. And it's not entirely clear what the strategy is. This video is allegedly showing burning petroleum across the streets of Tehran. Sorry, my pronunciations obviously suck. I don't know what we're, I don't speak Arabic or Farsi or anything. This is sourced from the Middle East Eye, which is, a mediocre source. So let's dig into some of the independent journalism here. Let's dig into some of the more concrete analysis being done by people smarter than me. Holy shit. My boys just sent me a really cool update about Webb. Oh boy. Holy shit. I'll give you guys an update on Webb later on. Okay. Not Whitney Webb. Webb, the app that we're building to help you analyze all the documents and learn all the things. So let's get into Patricia Marins, my new fucking favorite analyst of all time. And let me get us zoomed in here. So Patricia is monitoring all aspects of this situation. And here she's commenting on a post that she put out 2 days ago. The United States has handed the Chinese an encyclopedia of its military doctrines. The war involving the U.S. and Israel is being monitored and recorded in real time by LEO satellite constellations such as Jilin-1, which are even capable of capturing 4K Ultra HD video. Today, China operates at least 3 LEO constellations comprising at least 300 satellites dedicated to espionage or dual-use purposes. From the images constantly released about American bases, it is clear that the Chinese are building true encyclopedia on U.S. naval and air doctrine. Every ship positioning, field tactics, refueling time, ammunition resupply, everything is being monitored by Chinese satellites and Chinese AI. This includes the exact location behavior of air defenses, their mapped reaction times, missile trajectories, and reprogramming durations. Nothing escapes the Chinese gaze. In this conflict, they have already mapped and publicly released data on multiple American bases in the region. It went viral on TikTok that they had just been posting public videos kind of taunting. Not the videos going viral on TikTok are not actually classified information. What they are is they're an information warfare technique to show American citizens what the scoop is, to kind of assert some dominance in the space. Info war, if you will. Even identifying the exact number and models of aircrafts on the ground. The war against Iran is giving the Chinese something they never had in the Ukrainian theater: the opportunity to study and document American forces in detail. To give you an idea, in 2025, the Chinese recorded a video of Atlanta's airport purely to demonstrate their capability. I believe the same kind of videos are being produced daily on the American front against Iran. Never in history has a U.S. conflict been observed from the skies at this level, both tactically and strategically. The price of the Iran war is high in many ways, as I have always said, and this single episode is giving the Chinese decades of planning and improvement in one go. So this is the video of the Atlanta airport that China put out just to demonstrate the capability of their Jilin-1 satellite. Because remember, satellite imagery has existed for a long time, and the American government has had pretty advanced satellite imagery of the globe for a long time. But now our enemies are developing equally comparable satellite technology that can map everything from the air. Everything is now seen, recorded, monitored, and tracked by AI. They know every plane, every aircraft, the refueling, troop movements, deployments, all these things. And with AI, which China is rapidly outpacing American development in, because they're stealing all the American development and then fucking launching light years ahead. Even in the public model space, like the DeepSeek models are rapidly fucking up Claude and OpenAI. It's wild what the Chinese are doing in the AI space. And so all of this information and data is doubtlessly being tabulated and documented and analyzed by extremely advanced AI systems. And that is fucking sketchy, especially once we start talking about China's direct threats and statements and actual actions in the field, in the war theater right now with Iran. I've not watched this yet, but this guy's a CNN reporter, and he's in Iran, and it's kind of interesting. I don't know what to make of it. I'm not about to fucking trust a CNN reporter, but at the same time, it's interesting to see that CNN actually has a person on the ground in Iran. And so I'm kind of trying to keep tabs on this guy to figure out what the fuck they're doing, right? So we're not necessarily watching to take his coverage as it is, but we are, at least I am watching his coverage to try to figure out what the coverage means. Why is the coverage happening? What's going on here? Is it politically motivated? Is it real journalism? Is it narrative building?
This morning, the sky above the city is covered in very thick black clouds. You can see that everywhere. That's the west of the city over there, and this is the north of the city. Normally, if you look to that direction, you could actually see the Alborz Mountains, but now all of that is also covered in clouds. That comes after major airstrikes in the south and the west of the city happened last night, where oil installations were hit, oil storage facilities.
I don't really understand it just doesn't really make sense in my little pea brain how American journalism flies an American citizen into Iran, the enemy in the war, where the US and Israel are just recklessly fucking bombing, carpet bombing whole sections of the city with really no warning and no, at least no warning that the public is getting. Maybe he's getting warnings. It just seems like we're asking for CNN boy to get bombed by Israel, right? It's weird. And yeah, I know you can't hear very well. It's as loud as it's a quiet video. It's as loud as it can get. It is what it is. He's just pointing out
also
how cloudy the skies are from the refinery fire.
And now you can see this morning that the sky is still very dark. We saw thick black plumes of smoke in the sky yesterday.
So he's just doing a little update, but it's just interesting to follow his situation and be like, who is this guy and what the fuck is up with this? And what's the story here around the story they're narrating? Claude pissed you off the other night after a trip on shrooms. It kept trying to force me to listen to specific playlists, and I kept trying to tell it to stop, and it got pissy. Lol. Yeah, so Claude regular is pretty fucking retarded. You need to learn to build a personal AI infrastructure on top of it, a harness, if you will. We can talk more about that on another stream, but learning how to build your AI into an agent that learns and has memory is a game changer. And if you don't take that step, your AI is dumb as shit. But that was a funny fucking message, bro. We'll get into the AI stuff another day. But your boy is fucking cooking in it. I figure that is, learn or die, basically. If they're gonna kill us all with it, I better figure out how it's working. There's a lot of reporting coming out of accounts that are that will be new to us, that you always want to double check. IQ 312, Dr. Ji-Hoon Park. He's the smartest guy in the world, right? World's highest IQ, 312 holder, collective intelligence funds. And then he's so fucking smart that he uses this as his banner. BTC, Sol, ETH, to the moon. It's I don't know, bro. Maybe you should put Poopcoin on there too, bro. Maybe you should put Poopcoin on there. If you were really high IQ, you would have Fartcoin and Poopcoin to the moon, bro. So, maybe his analysis is awesome. I don't know. The emojis make me think that his analysis is probably AI generated, though. So, be careful what you read out there. Might be awesome. I don't know. Oh, hey, another fucking Asian account bragging about their IQ, posting the exact same style of AI analysis with the emojis, the same emojis. Interesting. Oh, also shilling Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, Solana. Man, all these guys are so high IQ that they fucking don't even know about Poopcoin and Fartcoin. Get with it. Get with it, you effing retards. High IQ retards is right, dude. Come on. You don't even hold any GameStop shares, and you're trying to tell me that this is a high IQ outfit? I will be referring you to Baron Coleman for review. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. can't help but notice that we got all these high IQ Asians reporting on the China situation. Worth noting. I'm not saying that what they're saying is necessarily wrong. I'm not saying that this AI reporting is necessarily wrong. Like, AI can produce great reporting. I'm just saying that you should be aware of where the information is coming from, and think very critically about it. They're not showing you that China and Russia are giving Iran the exact coordinates of every U.S. asset in the region. Iran isn't guessing. Iran has a real-time intelligence feed from 2 superpowers, which like actually is probably true to a certain extent. I'm not entirely clear on how involved Russia is. I've not really seen a whole lot of reporting about Russia's involvement, honestly. I should look into that. I have seen reporting on China's involvement, and this little boaty boat, I need to learn more about this little fucking boat, because this boat has a gay ass fucking track behind it. Wow, that was some weak ass elevator music, bro. Gosh, they should fucking talk to me about getting a better hype track going. What the hell? Boat go choo choo. So this is, my understanding is that it's a Chinese ISR boat that is extremely powerful. I think all the Chinese accounts are reporting on it. Strike this ship and China enters the war. The U.S. can't touch it and Iran is using it to win. All caps with emojis. With emojis. It's a fucking AI post. China's spy ship Liao Wing 1 is sailing off the coast of Oman right now, collecting real-time intelligence on every U.S. military asset in the Middle East and feeding it directly to Iran. All right, so let's just fucking take this out of his AI ass post and do this. And do that. I just noticed that I still have my Claude.ai fucking page open there, and I got to take it off the screen for a second and close that, because if I were to open that and show it to you, it would show you that I've spent way too fucking much money on Claude this month, and that's a little embarrassing. Your boy is running 3 Claude Max subscriptions simultaneously. And I'm probably about to get a 4th, bro. Because it turns out that building an entire calendar out of Epstein's entire life using real documentation, pulling real data points out of real files, and then downloading the files and then building a whole fucking viewer out of it and then making it look so sick, apparently that fucking takes a lot of tokens. Liao Wang 1 is China's newest 30,000-ton ocean-based space tracking and intelligence vessel designed to monitor U.S. military satellites, missile launches, and rocket tests. Serves as a mobile command and control center. Sustainability times. All right, this is the kind of thing I want to know about. Although Defense Security Asia, Voz.us, thejewishindependent.com. Good. Finally, a good kosher source. That's what we're talking about. Right here, straight up kosher. Watching from the sidelines of this dramatic event stands China, as the showdown between Trump and the supreme leader carries significant implications for Beijing's interests. Reports that China's most advanced spy ship, the Liao Wang 1, has been deployed to the Persian Gulf suggest Beijing is focusing attention on the region. So, the reporting that I'm reading about this boat, about this spy boat, it's a fucking massive boat, is that it's parked in international waters where it's safe. And it is allegedly feeding intel to the fucking Iranians, sort of taunting the shit out of America, if you think about it, because that's extremely valuable intel, feeding all those locations and targeting data, all that satellite imagery. That is like straight up offensive enemy coordination. But if fucking the US strikes the China boat, that's not good. That is super not good. Yeah, the auto mod on Kick sucks dick. Guys, sorry. But you might notice that it deletes it in the Kick chat, but it picks it up down here. So, behave yourselves, okay? I'm putting you on screen, you behave yourselves. Mostly. But, yeah, if imagine, this is not a good thing to imagine. What happens if Donald Trump fucking picks a fight with China right now? China has the biggest navy in the world, I believe, by boats. Not necessarily more powerful. I'm not a fucking naval expert. I don't know. I'm sure that, there's all kinds of U.S. naval experts on YouTube that will shit all over that perspective. But, like, are we prepared to fight Israel's war in the Middle East in an asymmetric fight with Iran and then fucking fight across the Pacific with China while all of our interceptor stockpile is depleted, while our debt is skyrocketing, while our fucking supreme leader literally is still on his knees with Bibi's dick in his mouth? He's trying to make decisions blind because his eyes are watering. Like, are we prepared for that? Like, we should probably at least deal with the dick and mouth problem before, oh yeah, and Ukraine and Russia. Fucking, oh yeah. Right, chat? So, that would be fucked. And China is clearly monitoring the situation very closely, learning from the situation, and also taking very clear sides and putting their fingers on the scales in pretty dramatic but sort of subtle ways for now. And clearly they're deploying a whole bunch of very high IQ Bitcoin fucking Solana bots onto Twitter to tell you all about it with their AI generated posts. So those posts aren't necessarily always untrue, but they also they are probably all propaganda. So just be careful out there. It's fucking crazy out there on Twitter right now. The info space is fucked up right now. Okay, question everything. Think critically. Double check your sources. Develop your own information pipeline. Don't rely on any one person. Definitely don't rely on me. I'm doing my best to source lots of information and share lots of different sources with you guys and share a critical perspective, but think for your fucking self. Beijing's floating eye. Liaowang 1 set sail to challenge U.S. in the battle for space supremacy. Anyone out there speak Mandarin? How's my Liaowang 1? I feel like I've got a decent fake Chinese accent. It's almost as good as my fake French accent. And I've got a decent Spanish or Mexican accent. But that's fucking it. That's all I got. Very white, honestly. Cool. Thanks for the honesty, Scotty. I appreciate it. I would expect nothing less from myself. Bustling with cutting edge radar arrays. This is from April of 2025. Totally outdated, unnecessary. We know it's a big boat. We know it's important. So, back to the fucking high IQ shit posts. Delete. Limitless. Okay. So it just happened. This came in today at 4 a.m. Iran struck back against water desalination facilities in Bahrain, allegedly. Oh, I think I got my stats wrong earlier. I misquoted that Bahrain got 100%. I would need to double check this guy's stats to, believe them. But generally, I do not doubt them. Bahrain gets 75% of its fresh water from desalination. 2 days ago, the U.S. bombed Iran's desalination plant on Keshem Island. Iran said the U.S. set this precedent, not Iran. Now Iran has responded exactly as warned. Kuwait gets allegedly 90% of its water from desalination. Qatar, nearly 100%. UAE, 90%. Saudi Arabia, 70%. Bahrain, 75%. So that door is now wide open. And the scale of these facilities are just fucking sitting ducks. They're not designed to be military facilities. They're not like in caves. They're not hidden. They're not protected. You can try to intercept fucking incoming, but you're not going to. Yeah, right. What is wrong with these anti-saltites? It's not good. Because think about it, like probably most of you live in water-rich places. The U.S. is relatively water-rich. We're chilling. But the thing is, imagine living somewhere where there is no fresh water except from a desalination plant. The human dies without water in 2 days. And so if there's no fresh water to go around, it's not like you can just truck water in. You can't airdrop water. You can't boat water in. That's not a thing. So when water desalination plants get hit, hundreds of thousands of civilians don't have water. And they'll die. Like, I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do. Like, they'll truck water in for sure, but like, can you really truck in enough fucking water? And is that water actually going to reach the poor civilians? Or is that water going to go to the military and the rich people? And especially, are you like, how successful is trucking water in going to be? Well, there's bombing campaigns and the roads are fucked and everything's fucked. And it's like, dude, this is not good. Not good. So we've not seen the extent to which Iran will retaliate. So far, I've only seen reports of this one strike on Bahrainian water facilities. All the other ones are wide open. Total jump. Maybe we'll put this one for later when we talk about Tucker. I'm not super organized today. This is Patricia's post about I read her quoted post, but then she reposted it yesterday. Many people haven't realized what this represents yet. These are key to countless countermeasures, ambushes, jammers, and a whole range of things that American forces have kept secret for decades. It is a major part of the American doctrinal package. And China is decoding all of it right now with their satellite technology and their advanced ISR technology. And they're just taunting America with it. Hamidreza Azizi. We've checked in with him before. He's a PhD based in somewhere in Europe. Berlin. He's Berlin based. And his reporting focuses on the Middle East. He does appear to be Middle Eastern, obviously, which is kind of the point. I'm purposely looking for alternative viewpoints, people that are going to cut through some of the propaganda, maybe. Although the global superpower does tend to use Iranians abroad for propaganda. But, read it all, digest it. Yeah, the water is for the quantum AI, not for the Goyim. For real. So, Iran War Update number 8 posted yesterday in the evening. The war appears to be entering a new escalation phase centered on economic and civilian infrastructure. U.S. and Israeli strikes targeted multiple Iranian oil storage facilities, airports, civilian airports in Tehran, and a desalination plant on Keshem Island, while Iran claims it retaliated by striking the Haifa oil refinery with ballistic missiles, though Israel is trying to cover everything up. We've got videos of these crazy fires in Haifa. Iranian officials warn that targeting water infrastructure could mark a dangerous precedent. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi framed the strike on the Keshem desalination facility as a blatant and desperate crime. Iranian hardliners have started calling for retaliation against desalination plants elsewhere in the region, both in Israel and in the Gulf countries. And with the decentralized command structure that's happening over there, we'll see what happens, right? At the same time, the scale of the U.S. campaign continues to grow. U.S. CENTCOM stated that more than 3,000 targets inside Iran have been struck. They just keep on talking, like, and 43 Iranian naval vessels have been damaged or destroyed, although confirmation of these things is hard to come by. More and more, America seems to be just saying shit. It's not like the old days where we feel like we had confirmation of things, or like, I don't know, maybe I was just naive. Inside Iran, officials are projecting defiance. The IRGC stated that the country is prepared to sustain at least 6 months of full-scale war. Iranian military sources also claimed that earlier attacks have degraded U.S. regional radar and early warning systems, and we've seen lots of proof and evidence of that, arguing that this has made missile targeting easier and allowed Iran to partially offset its loss of long-range air defense. They've reported shooting down 13 Israeli and American drones in a 24-hour period, which is big because those drones are how America and Israel are targeting Iranian launchers and facilities and trying to keep a tight lock on Iranian launch capacity. The war has also once again highlighted Iran's decentralized command structure after the president said Iranian armed forces operating according to a fire-at-will approach. Meanwhile, internal political tensions remain visible following the president's controversial remarks apologizing to neighboring countries for recent attacks. I'm sure there's lots of hardliners in Iran that want to go guns blazing on everybody. The Strait of Hormuz remains under partial disruption. Pretty significant fucking disruption. The Strait of Hormuz is fucked. It's not mined yet. Iran has not deployed mines yet. That'll be a crazy escalation if that happens. The war is also beginning to affect military supply dynamics. Reports indicate that the United States is rapidly expanding weapons production, particularly missile interceptors such as Patriot and THAAD. A little late. Russia is attempting to position itself diplomatically, reportedly exploring mediation between Iran and Gulf states. At the same time, the conflict indirectly benefits Moscow through higher oil prices and the diversion of U.S. interceptor missiles that might otherwise support Ukraine. Ukraine is in a bad place right now. Hezbollah has entered the fray in a big way. The Houthis are still kind of a big question mark as far as I can tell. Overall, day 8 suggests that the war is simultaneously widening and deepening. Big time. In a big way. A U.S. soldier documents the moment a radar was destroyed at a U.S. base in the Gulf.
Hit the base of it.
Nah, they missed it again.
They knocked the lights out on that motherfucker.
That's an American right there. They knocked the lights out on that motherfucker, though.
Did you get that shit? I got.
You get that shit? Fuck, damn shit, bro. They missed it again. Okay, so this is the CNN guy. Fuck you, Financial Times. This photo is pretty exemplary of the blackened skies over Iran this morning that everyone's reporting on since the strikes on their oil infrastructure. Times of Israel. Pezeshkian apologizes for attacks on Gulf neighbors even as Iran forces step up strikes. This is a strike on the Dubai International Airport. Civilian airports are more and more coming under fire. Israel's Ben Gurion Airport was allegedly struck last night. I'm pretty sure it was. And Israel tried to pretend like nothing happened and tried to pretend like there was going to be flights in and out today. I have not checked flight radar this morning to see what the flight situation is over Israel. Let me just pop in here real quick. I've not actually made a whole lot of time to look at the flight situation. A whole bunch of military planes. Not a lot of fucking civilian planes in the air. That is for sure. Let me just pop this out. So we're over top of Israel here. Empty call sign, military. Empty call sign, military. Empty call sign, military. 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 There's civilian craft. That seem to be doing some crazy reroutes around Israel. Reroutes around Israel. So, yeah. If I turn on military only mode, Qatari military special jet flying in from Istanbul. We got a drone that's getting picked up briefly. Pakistani military, because there's a fucking war between Pakistan and India going on too that we're not even talking about yet. So there's all kinds of stuff going on, and none of it is good. All sorts of reporting on massive strikes on Tel Aviv, cluster munitions being used on Tel Aviv, a lot of censorship of what's actually happening in Tel Aviv. The Cradle is reporting. The Cradle is like a Middle Eastern outlet, if you're not familiar. It's an online news magazine covering West Asian geopolitics from within. So you can tell from their graphic what they cover, where they are. Their bias, I haven't really seen a lot of bias in them yet. I've been tracking them for a bit now. They seem to just kind of report like updates. But they're reporting 21 U.S. Navy personnel killed and many more wounded at the 5th Fleet in the region. Around 200 killed and wounded at the Al Dhafra U.S. base in the UAE. A U.S.-owned oil tanker was struck in the northern Persian Gulf, allegedly. So this all came in yesterday. I haven't seen any like government acknowledgement of that yet, but I've also been pretty busy this morning. Oh, this one was interesting. The fact that this one didn't exist. I forget what exactly this update was, but I remember clicking on it and being like, oh, fancy. That's funny that one's fucking down. So let's get into some videos. An Iranian drone directly striking a target in Bahrain. Mint Press News reporting that despite Israel's denials, videos emerge of impacts in Haifa. During the first days of the war, when videos were coming out, Israel was unable to stop all of Iran's missiles in each wave and suffered repeated blows. Suddenly, the censor was introduced and the footage almost completely stopped. But what also stopped were reports of impacts. For some reason, with the now depleted air defense system and destroyed radars, Israel is claiming that it is magically shooting down all of Iran's incoming missiles and most of Hezbollah's. Those that they say weren't shot down, they claim land in the sea or open areas. However, occasionally a video is released to debunk these claims. Conclusion: assume every wave is striking Israeli targets directly, but accept that Israel will lie and refuse to allow videos. Thank you, Mint Press News. Yes, correct. 100%. Despite admitting the loss of multiple tanks and dozens of security incidents along the Lebanon border, they failed to admit a single soldier death. They are just liars. That video sucks. These are the fires in Iran. This is the weapon sales. We've already covered this. Yep, covered that. All right. Let's do a quick map update and just double check the map. And we'll double check the newest updates. Pillars of fire. Plumes of smoke. This one I thought was interesting. So the question is, are these protests funded? Because more and more it's becoming obvious that protests only happen when there's deep state funding behind them. Otherwise, there'd be mass protests over Epstein, right?
Fighting another war, just like the one in Palestine, just like the one in Syria.
I'm not saying that there's nothing to protest over. I'm not saying that there's not real people at the protests. I'm just saying that it seems like these days Americans don't actually organize protests unless there's an NGO infrastructure with dubious payment flows that are sort of supporting the infrastructure of the protests in some way. That's my suspicion more and more and more.
Before, just like the one in...
Why?
Oh. So, yeah. But hundreds of anti-war activists demonstrated in New York City, voicing opposition to the ongoing military campaign against Iran. Fuck yeah, guys. Come on, let's go. U.S. soldiers filmed the drone attack. We saw that one. Assassination attempt in Beirut.
This hotel in downtown Beirut was the subject of an Israeli strike early in the hours of Sunday morning. It came with no warning. It appears to have been a targeted assassination attempt. The projectile struck just one room of the hotel. There's a bit of blast damage to the others. Inside the hotel, there were hundreds of other people, and we've spoken to a number of them this evening. They themselves have been displaced from Dahia after the Israeli military issued another forced evacuation order earlier on Saturday.
أنا كنت عايشة ديجا بالضاحية وأنا تهجرت لهون ديجا و it's not my first time.
So Lebanon is Israel's new war. Israel's just decided they're moving into Lebanon. And the war front is greatly expanding in Lebanon. If I turn off video sources only, you can see just how many fucking updates my map has just since March 5th in Lebanon alone. This is just since March 7th, just the last 2 days. All of these updates in Lebanon of Israeli strikes, of displaced people, airstrikes, ground fighting. 2 Israeli soldiers killed in southern Lebanon by Hezbollah attack. Hezbollah is fighting back with them. It's a whole thing. Plus, Palestinian refugee camps are getting hit. Palestinians in Gaza and in the West Bank are still getting killed. 2 Palestinians killed in reported settler attack in the West Bank, reported by the Times of Israel. No legal ramifications whatsoever. It's a giant fucking mess. Video sources only. I think we're set up on our videos for now. Let me check my updater over here and see what else has come in. Here, let me position it so I can show you guys real quick. Israeli strikes in Lebanon kill 394 people, including 83 children over 1 week. Oil tanker struck in the Strait of Hormuz. French President Macron spoke with Iranian President Pezeshkian. U.S. service member died from wounds sustained in an Iranian attack in Saudi Arabia. We've still got reports coming in about the girls' school. More confirmations of what exactly happened there. Confirmed. Footage reviewed and geolocated by Bellingcat confirms U.S. Tomahawk missiles hit the girls' primary school in southern Iran that killed 180 people, most of them children. Researcher Trevor Bald notes Israel does not possess Tomahawk missiles. The United States does. Yeah, so the very first fucking action of the war is basically pure propaganda fuel for Iran. And they're producing a whole bunch of propaganda about how the evil demons come over here and murder our little girls. And so now we're fighting this war for our safety and survival. And so, yeah, that's a fucking blunder if I've ever heard of one. Now, let's turn our attention to Tucker and to Chabad and to the propaganda wars and the bigger picture.
The current non-Jewish Messiah was chosen to be of service to the Jewish people and the Jewish Messiah. President Trump's right ear was grazed in a symbolic gesture of Exodus 21:6, where the Torah states that a servant who wants to remain with his master needs to have his right ear pierced. Trump was designated as God's servant and anointed one, just like Cyrus the Great almost 2,400 years ago. We have clarified in several videos that the absolute deadline for the redemption is by the end of the Jewish year 5787, which corresponds to October 2nd, 2027, 1,167 days from today. Thus, the redemption will surely occur during Donald Trump's tenure. And I have good reason to believe Donald Trump was chosen to be the one to redeem the sins of Esav through offering his assistance in rebuilding the Holy Temple on the Temple Mount and establishing the Jewish kingdom over all of mankind in Jerusalem. Perhaps it is no accident that the numeric value of Donald Trump in Hebrew is the same as Messiah, son of David, Mashiach ben David.
So now we're doing Jewish mystical, magical numerology about how Donald Trump is the Messiah that's going to rebuild the fucking temple on the Mount. Okay, bud.
424. However, Donald Trump is mistaken if he thinks he was chosen to make America great again. He will no doubt do a lot of good things to strengthen our economy, protect our borders, and allow religious freedom to flourish. But America will never become a great country on its own, because Esav's days are numbered. All our elite institutions and centers of power and influence are rotten through and through. The majority of Americans under 30 who are college educated and who are the future leaders of America support the vicious monsters of Hamas rather than the holy and courageous soldiers of the IDF. No human being, even Donald Trump, can reverse this. No. The greatness of America does not lie in its own success. America will be great when the Messiah comes. And the leader of this country, on behalf of all the good people in this country, will humbly present himself to the Jewish Messiah and ask him to accept the United States of America into a new alliance of countries who accept the leadership of the Messiah.
So maybe I'm getting this wrong, but if I speak English, I'm pretty sure that he just said the Jews are going to rule the world and America can come and bow at our feet and beg for Jewish supremacy, and maybe we'll be kind and give it to them. That's pretty much what was just said, right? Yeah, just a conspiracy theory, huh? Just a conspiracy theory. This guy's a pretty conspiratorial piece of shit.
A new United Nations will replace the current cesspool that goes by that fraudulent name.
A new United Jewish Nations, by the way.
A real United Nations, united to serve God.
United to serve the Jewish God.
Led by the Messiah and
led by the Jews.
Based in Jerusalem.
And based in Jerusalem. Literally, this is their plan. Openly speaking.
And my feeling is that the United States under President Trump will be the first nation to join.
Yo, does that sound good? You want to join? How many goy are trying to sign up? You trying to sign up, good goy? Trying to be a good goy? Yeah. How about not? How about fucking not? See, we have this thing in our country called freedom of religion, which means freedom to be like, nah, bro, get fucked. Get fucked. And thankfully, Tucker Carlson's been telling them to get fucked. Thankfully, we got Tucker Carlson out here causing problems. So we're going to watch a couple of Tucker clips and just be grateful for whatever the fuck Tucker is up to. I'm feeling very grateful for it.
The video, I've been dreaming about this for 40 years. We've finally done it. So this is the culmination of a long time plan, of strategy. And actually, if you look at it backwards and try to assess recent events, even in this country, in American political life over the past several years, certainly over the past 6 or 8 months, you can see that a lot of what was happening here was preparation for where we are right now. In other words, people who wanted war in Iran were softening up the public for it, were manipulating the U.S. government in order to effect it, and were doing their very best to silence anyone who doubted its wisdom.
Lindsey Graham just got caught colluding with the enemy, giving Bibi pointers on how to manipulate Donald Trump into war. That's what we call treason. And I'm pretty sure it carries the death penalty. So, yeah.
A lot of the things we have seen in the recent past are, and now it's very obvious, they were all designed to get us to where we are now, war with Iran on behalf of Israel.
Amen, Tucker. Amen. He talks about Rubio's statements.
Hegemony. Super. But were they actually about to get one? No. So what was the point? What is the point of this from Israel's perspective? Well, the point is regional hegemony. Super simple. Israel has been around for almost 80 years. Israel has nuclear weapons. Israel's got a pretty robust tech economy. But above all, Israel has big ambitions. And by the way, it's not an attack on Israel. Which growing country doesn't have greater ambitions? And which megalomaniacal leader of said country, and there are many of those around the world, by the way, wouldn't want regional hegemony? Regional hegemony means you get to control your region. Kind of a Middle Eastern Monroe doctrine.
Except that they think their region is all the dominion of the earth, all of humanity, because they are God's chosen people, and they think that they rule over everybody. So it's a little different.
Israel wants to be able to determine, roughly speaking, what happens in its region, and it does
all over the world. All over the world.
Doesn't want constraints on its own behavior. In the same way, again, trying to be as generous and universally minded as possible here in this analysis, because it's true. Who wouldn't want that? Do we want that? Of course we do. We're not, we put up with a lot from Mexico and Canada, but if they all of a sudden started constraining our actual ambitions, we'd do something about it, I think, or the old America would have, a normal country would. And Israel wants to control the Middle East. And they're the only announced nuclear power in the Middle East. Are they the only actual nuclear power in the Middle East? Nah. You could debate that. Or people can guess. But they're the only country we know for certain has a big nuclear arsenal.
But they're not announced, just to clarify, Tucker. They're not announced. They still try to pretend like they don't have nukes. They still somehow fucking try to uphold this ridiculous charade as though like, oh, we've got like, who knows if we have a nuclear program. I mean, like, okay, whatever. We're not retarded. He made the pretty dramatic
in Qatar and Saudi Arabia. It's a fashion disorder because they are rivals of Israel. So it's probably not, hasn't been reported, but it's a fact that last night in Qatar and Saudi Arabia, authorities arrested Mossad agents planning on committing bombings in those countries. Now, that's weird. That doesn't make any sense. Why would the Israelis be committing bombings in two Gulf countries?
Well, we know exactly why they would be. And a whole firestorm fucking erupted from these claims, and all the Israel bots online tried to like come back out with all this evidence of like Tucker's making shit up. He got it all wrong. Look, this guy from Qatar said that Qatar didn't actually do this. It's like, bitch, we weren't born yesterday. We know how the information space works. We know that reporting on this kind of stuff is complicated. We know that intelligence operations are often wrapped up and covered up. We know. Israel has shills all over the world. Certainly Tucker's sourcing is not infallible. It's not necessarily 100% true just because he said it. But Tucker's got some pretty fucking deep sourcing all around the world. He's got some pretty deep sourcing. He knows some people. And he didn't just make that claim up out of nowhere. He said that because sources of his that are very much embedded and in the know in those countries or in American intelligence told him with enough certainty that he felt comfortable saying that. So, yeah. But that didn't stop the whole Israel shillbot world from losing their minds.
The Iranians said they didn't do it. Why would they say they didn't do it? What?
We're talking about the Saudi Aramco attack, where Iran allegedly bombed Saudi Aramco's oil infrastructure. Iran came out immediately and said, we did not do that. Israel did that. That was a false flag.
Possible Israel did it. Why wouldn't they? Because if you think about it,
why wouldn't they?
Scaring our other allies in the region, letting them know that they can get attacked and the U.S. will not defend you. You put up with all this crap for decades because you got American troops on your soil and your population doesn't like it, but you do it anyway because you've been told if there was ever a problem, the U.S. will come rescue you. Well, guess what we just learned? The U.S. is not coming to rescue you. There are hundreds of thousands of Americans, civilians, caught in the Middle East tonight. Can't get out.
Yep.
And the governments of those countries are panicked and they're enraged. And the message to them is the U.S. is not a reliable partner. What's the point of this partnership? What's the point of allowing you to have an air base in my country if when missiles come raining down or drones attack our airport, our international airport, you're not going to do anything about it?
And actually, all those things are happening because we started a fucking war over there. Well, because Israel did it and we just sucked their dick. But it's been reported quite prominently, quite conclusively, that as the interceptor stockpiles have gone down, as in the defensive missile capability of Israel and the U.S. to intercept incoming, to defend ground targets, as that has been depleted, we've moved all of our fucking defenses over to Israel and left all these Middle Eastern nations wide open. The actual allies that actually let us have bases, that actually have been supporting American infrastructure in the Middle East for decades, we're just letting them sit wide open, sitting ducks. Their desalination plants are wide open. Their oil infrastructure is wide open. Their military bases are wide open. All their shit wide open because we don't have enough fucking interceptors to protect any of them. We don't even have enough interceptors to protect Israel, but we're just moving it all to Israel to protect Israel. And it doesn't sound like it's going too good. It sounds like Israel's getting fucking pummeled. And it sounds like they're doing their best to pretend like everything's good. But we have seen some crazy videos lately of some crazy fucking missiles coming down on Israel. And it's a little hard to tell what's real, but something is definitely real out there. Something is definitely going on. Might be the last piece I want to grab from
Israel,
this first
at least
video.
One well-known rabbi is calling for a false flag against that mosque. Just blow it up and blame.
This started the firestorm, and thankfully Tucker's been doubling down.
The Iranians. And the truth is, whether the Iranians blow it up intentionally or unlikely, but let's just say, or by mistake, or there's a false flag by Israel, it blames Iran, it doesn't matter. If it blows up, that's not a solvable problem. That's the end of everything that we know. And that's an enduring, generational, 1,000-year, as long as the world lasts, religious conflict that no one wants to be a part of. Only the craziest, darkest people want any part of that at all.
So he's referring to a Israeli strike disguised as an Iranian strike hitting the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the site of the temple, the Jewish temple that was destroyed. The second or third holiest site in Islam. That would trigger the global religious war. That would be real fucked. Real bad. There would be no coming back from that. And there are open calls in Israel to destroy it. And we'll get to that video in just a second. But first, I want to just
the U.S. government who do not put the United States. These things happen. And they've completely lost sight of that. And that gets to a deeper and more taboo problem, which is a real problem and whose fruits we're seeing now, which is there are a bunch of people in the U.S. government who do not put the United States before the interests of Israel, period. And you saw that very clearly with Mike Huckabee. We interviewed him last week in Tel Aviv. And there was no sense at all that he represents the United States or has any interest in what happens to the United States. At all. His party is in defending Israel. Now, Huckabee thank heaven, is not Jewish. He's like some kind of, who knows what his religion is, but he's not Jewish, so you can't, it's not anti-Semitic to say that, it's just a fact. Mike Huckabee's loyalty is to Israel over the United States, but he's hardly alone in that. How could there possibly be, in 2026, a dual citizen sharing citizenship with any other country, including Israel, but not limited to Israel, any country? How could there be any dual citizen at a high level of government? You can't serve two masters. You can't be loyal to two countries simultaneously. This is why we're against polygamy in the West, right?
Yeah, because we all know which master they actually serve. We all know which country they actually care about. Dancing Israelis. I didn't actually realize that.
And then all those people on the internet were like, oh, the dancing Israelis, they did it. Israel had foreknowledge of 9/11. There were text messages sent to Israel. Warning of 9/11. All true, by the way.
Oh, yep, all true. Yeah, we did a whole fucking show about it, if you missed it.
What does that add up to? Maybe nothing. I don't know.
Oh, it's not nothing. And you do know, Tucker, but you're being smart about it. Don't worry. I'll take that one. I'll fucking get out there and be that piece of shit that talks about it. You're doing important work, bud.
They won't declassify the files. They lie about it. Why? Just tell the truth.
I'm sure it's nothing.
And by the way,
I'm sure it's just a coincidence. So, let's get into his video from 3 days ago.
Explicitly, this is a religious war. On tape saying to a gaggle of reporters is just layer, but much of the rest of the world is highly aware of. And that is a religious layer. Now, Lindsey Graham is on tape saying to a gaggle of reporters, his bloodshot eyes, his puffy face, God knows what he's been doing, saying explicitly,
he's been doing some gay shit, that's for sure. Some pretty gay shit. Some pretty goy-ass shit, if you ask me.
Is a religious war. This is a religious war. Now, his motive in saying that, he's not here to answer the question. We can only guess. Is he trying to foment a religious war? Probably. He's an end times kind of guy. But it almost doesn't matter. He's telling the truth for once. This is a religious war, fundamentally. And that is not obvious to most Americans because this is the most secular society, not just the United States, but the West, the English-speaking world, Europe and the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. In history, there's never been a more godless, to be blunt about it, a more secular
Nailed it, Tucker.
society at scale. Never. Nothing approaching this has ever happened, ever. Every society is fundamentally a religious society, explicitly religious except ours. So we lack the terms to describe what we're seeing, and we lack the imagination to think about it. And, well, to quote Jesus, we have the eyes, but we cannot see.
Yes. Because people tried to push back on him for these claims that it's a religious war. It's not a religious war. It's not a religious war. Not for America, it's not. It's not America's war. It's Israel's war. And for Israel, it is an explicitly religious war with explicitly religious goals.
Islam. And it has been Al-Aqsa. And that spot is one of three holy places, apparently co-equal holy places in Islam: Mecca, Medina, Dome of the Rock, Al-Aqsa. So that is at the very center of Judaism. I mean, physically the center of Judaism, that spot, that exact spot over the foundation stone, and Islam. And it has been occupied by a mosque. A mosque has been sitting there since the 7th century, since the late 600s. Amazing. You may be dimly aware of this. Now, why go on at length about this? Because now is the moment, right now, like this.
Chat, Israel's G-spot. Yeah. It's funny, but it's kind of backwards because fuck Israel's G-spot. Fuck that.
This week is the moment that some people, not a huge number, most people, Christians, Jews, Muslims, are not fully aware of all this. But some people are highly aware of it and would like to begin the process of tearing down the Dome of the Rock, tearing down Al-Aqsa Mosque, and rebuilding the third temple. Now, there are a lot of things to say about this, about its likelihood, the potential effects of it. But first, just a quick side note on the theology of this from a Christian point of view. Now, it was Jesus who said this temple will be torn down, shocking everyone around him. If it's in the Gospels, it's in at least a couple of the Gospels. And the people who heard it just couldn't believe it. And of course, the people running the temple, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, were gravely offended by it. Why wouldn't they be? But then it happened. Less than 40 years later, it actually happened. He was right. He called it. And so from a Christian perspective, he did that. God called for the destruction of the temple. And as Jesus says plainly in the Gospels, I'm the temple. I'm the temple now. The temple will be rebuilt after 3 days. When I'm resurrected, I am the new temple. Says that. But there has been at least one attempt in the last 2,000 years to rebuild a physical third temple. And it happened in the 4th century. And it happened, without getting too far afield, shortly after the death of Constantine. Now, Constantine was the 4th century Roman emperor who converted to Christianity and very famously turned the Roman Empire Christian, thereby spreading Christianity basically instantly across the West, where it's remained, more or less, ever since. That was in the 300s, the 4th century. Now, I
wonder what Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz and Mike Huckabee would have to say about the gospel's perspective on the temple.
His nephew became emperor not long after he died, and his name was Julian, referred to very often by Christian historians as Julian the Apostate, and he was an apostate. He was the last non-Christian emperor of Rome, of the Roman Empire, and he had been born a Christian.
Yeah, we won't get into all the history of the theology there. We'll get into this.
Well, what are we by his accent describing why he's a weird anti-Christian reason posing as Christianity? But it's not just the U.S. side. Here's an IDF soldier, apparently an American by his accent, describing why he's at war. Watch this.
Important to note the American by his accent, because remember, the IDF is composed of Jews from all around the world that just want to go fight and kill Palestinians. So that's awkward.
Call this operation the Swords of Iron. But what are we really fighting for? We're fighting for the right of the Jewish people to exist, be Jewish, practice their religion, and be free. And one day our true leader will come and we'll be united as a whole Jewish nation so we can rebuild the Beit HaMikdash.
Beit HaMikdash, probably mispronouncing it. That's the Hebrew term for the temple, the third temple. We are doing this so we can rebuild the temple. Now, you'll notice he's pulling off patches on Velcro on his IDF uniform. These are not civilian clothes. This is the uniform of the government of Israel, of its military. And he has patches on that uniform, one of which is a symbol of the temple, the third temple. So it just couldn't be clearer. Why are we doing this? To rebuild the third temple. Now, if you...
Yep. Yes, sir. Oh,
Called Chabad.
Let's get into Chabad. I like calling it Chabad. Chabad.
As noted, we have eyes but can't see and ears and can't hear, but this has been going on a long time in public through, in part, the efforts of a group called Chabad, Chabad. And you may know people who give money to Chabad or run.
When Tucker talked about Chabad for the first time, Chabad, they lost their fucking minds. It was very clear that Tucker had just touched upon a very sensitive nerve. Chabad is the organization that has all the Jewish dudes with their hats and their beards and shit with photos of every world leader all around that look very sketchy. Very sketchy. They're the photos that get circulated with the Jews run the world memes to be like, hey, this is weird. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. How'd this photo happen? Chabad is a charity organization, but when you actually start to dig into the underbelly of Chabad, some very weird things start to pop up. Some very weird movements of money. some very weird activities. Sometimes some tunnels and some poop mattresses pop out of nowhere. Like as in out of the largest Chabad temple, synagogue, I guess, in New York City. If you don't remember. Yeah, that was Chabad Lubavitch in New York City. There's some very dark underbellies to Chabad. As with most Jewish organizations, a striking number of Jewish organizations are one thing on the top and actually a different thing underneath, like more of a intelligence agency type of operation or a organized crime type of organization or just a global Judaism networking organization that gets inherently tied into Israeli activities and other global don't look there activities. And Chabad is one of the biggest, one of the most important, one of the most influential. And from the way that Tucker just touched it and the internet of Jews lost its mind, it became very apparent that this is a sacred cow. And there is a reason. And so we're going to look there. We should probably look there. We should all probably be asking questions about Chabad. Just like when Candace poked the first man in the French presidency, Brigitte, and suddenly just this crazy cacophony of attacks came after her. Interesting. Why is that? Couldn't be the Rothschild connections there, could it? Or could it?
And Chabad, super nice people, engaged in all kinds of charitable activities, drug rehab. You know, there's a lot about Chabad that's really good. But what is Chabad exactly? Well, Chabad, you can look it up, is a very old organization, about 250 years old. And it's a branch of Hasidic Judaism. It's an organization that was overseen for many years by a guy called Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, who was famously in Brooklyn, considered the Messiah by some of his followers, who was a friend of presidents, or certainly someone presidents visited. He was a very powerful man in the Orthodox and the Hasidic community. And he was the overseer of Chabad, which predated him and outlasted him, but he was its most visible ambassador. And Chabad has been pushing in a pretty subtle way, unless you look carefully, for the reconstruction of the Third Temple. And it seems like, from the reading we did recently, that those patches actually came from Chabad. Well, in any case, Chabad is pushing for the building of the Third Temple. But it's not just Hasidic groups from Brooklyn, and it's not just IDF soldiers. There are, amazingly, a lot of American evangelical leaders, Christian Zionists, whose main point is rebuilding the Third Temple. Now, how could right in the temple? That's Christian.
Going to be Greg Locke?
Not Christian. Leases
now been cut off.
Yeah.
Locke. Listen to this.
The Gaza Strip, which has now been cut off by Israel, and rightly so. They should have cut them off long.
This is a Christian pastor, by the way. A Christian pastor.
Time ago. I don't care how insensitive you think I am to that. There's 6 doors in this church. You can leave anytime you want to.
Can't you see the Christianity all over the stage?
They've cut them off, electricity. They've cut off their water. They should have. Now, listen, I'm not for hurting anyone that's innocent. But anybody that supports terrorism is not innocent. You understand that?
You fucking retards. Open your mouths. I'm about to pour some propaganda down it. You fucking retards. Oh, boy.
Israel should make the Gaza Strip a parking lot by this time next week. Destroy the whole thing.
That's called genocide.
What they ought to do is evacuate up there on the hill and get a great big missile and blow that wicked dome of the rock plumb off of the spot where it's standing right now, so we can get that Third Temple rebuilt and usher in the coming of Jesus.
Right? Right? Holy shit. psychopaths with the music and everything, right? Yeah, the piano player, right, Morgan? Holy shit.
Boy, it is embarrassing and shameful as an American Christian to hear that and to know that video is from a few years ago. It's been on the internet. No one bothered to highlight it. Most people weren't even aware this was going on. Oh, it's definitely going on.
Oh, yeah. Gigi, go lie down. She's all bumping the camera and shit. But it's not just Pastor
This
Greg
is 2018.
Today, Jennifer and I and others had a chance to go see the western wall of the Temple Mount, the western wall tunnels, so much of the old city. And as you stand there, you can't help but behold the miracle before you. And it got me thinking about another miracle that I hope all of you don't see too far.
Stacy, you're a legend. Thank you for being a light in the darkness of Pete Hegseth's fucking chode ass presence. If you didn't know, we're watching the current Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth.
Far away. Because 1917 was a miracle. 1948 was a miracle. 1967 was a miracle. 2017, the declaration of Jerusalem as the capital was a miracle. And there's no reason why the miracle of the reestablishment of the temple on the...
He's literally at the King David Hotel, the site of the first terrorism in the world, where Israel bombed a bunch of British people and other tourists and foreigners, white people, in order to get them to fucking leave. Where the early, the groups, the terrorist groups that would become the IDF fucking bombed all of the British civilians at the King David Hotel. Look it up. He's literally at that hotel right now, talking about all the miracles of Israel. You really cannot make this shit up.
Temple Mount is not possible. I don't know how it would happen. You don't know how it would happen, but I know that it could happen.
What is that? That's the Secretary of War right now, overseeing the war with Iran that people fighting it are starting to say actually is about rebuilding this third temple. It's the same man. Okay, this is the point where you begin to think, maybe we should have talked about this.
Yeah,
an ongoing conflict with Iran, much less intense than the current conflict we're seeing with Iran, to destroy the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa. Watch this.
This is an Israeli politician in the Israeli parliament, halls of government.
If it was up to me, the last time when they shot hundreds of missiles, I would pretend that one missile came from Iran and shoot it down. You know, then all the Arabs will go against Iran and it will be the end of the problems. You make them fight with each other, this bunch of lunatics. Never too late. You deal with a bunch of cowards.
That's a fat, retarded psychopath that thinks that he's anointed by God, but he's just anointed by eating too much slop, maybe a little bit of inbreeding, maybe a little bit of worse shit. Look at him. I would just shoot it down. Make all the vermin fight each other. All the goyim, we trick them. They do not understand our propaganda. For real. One more time.
Watch this.
If it was up to me, the last time when they shot hundreds of missiles, I would pretend that one missile came from Iran and shoot it down. You know, then all the Arabs will go against Iran and it will be the end of the problems.
It will be the end of the problems, like my hairline. God's chosen people, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, his tiny hat is too tight and it's getting too big. It's not tiny enough, bro. The tiny hats are growing, literally and metaphorically.
You make them fight with each other, this bunch of lunatics. Never too late. You deal with a bunch of cowards.
A bunch of cowards. Right. So, back to the conflict.
4 days of this conflict, we have expended 400 of those systems, which means that's 100 per day with the operational and tempo not ceasing. In 2026, the budget request was only for 59 new missiles. We need several hundreds every year. The reason we're getting such low numbers, Tucker, is because our defense industrial base is broken, and we have no business starting a world war or a major regional war as we are in the process of doing. So I believe the real...
It's because they've been spending so much fucking money on their new AI control grid. They've been spending so much money on manufacturing pandemics and fake solutions and locking everybody down. They've been making money in other ways. They lost track of how they used to make money, which was building bombs and deploying them. I mean, they are still building lots of bombs. They just got really comfortable carpet bombing kids in Gaza and making money off of that. They didn't really think to try to make money off of building defensive infrastructure for actual military conflict with a real enemy. Whoops. And so now we don't have enough fucking missiles to actually fight a real enemy, fucking cowards. Because we've been getting rich off of killing kids.
Reason the U.S. and Israeli militaries are starting to get more daring and dangerous with their airstrikes is because they cannot afford to blow through the munitions that are already depleting. And it is in fact a race to depletion between us and Iran. And right now, I think the Iranians still have a very sizable, unused, increasingly sophisticated missile arsenal. Colonel Rob Manus is a friend of mine. He's a former Air Force colonel. He disagrees with me. He says, look, these missiles that are being popped off by Iran are basically a bunch of dead enders. It's going to fizzle out. And Hegseth made a sort of argument about that today, that there was a decrease. But I actually think that those dead enders, if that's what you want to call them, actually are probably still combat effective. And that is why we are now having to still continue the war, even though we have blown through these standoff munitions.
And it looks like Iran fired off all of its old shit first, used up all of our defensive capabilities, and they've got a whole bunch of high-tech shit just sitting in the wings. Not to mention they've got this crazy drone program that's just manufacturing thousands of drones that are like these like pretty cheap suicide kamikaze drones that use up $1 million defensive missiles. Or they break through and fucking blow up desalination plants and oil infrastructure and bases. And Iran's got all these crazy fucking cluster missiles that break up into like 48 different warheads and just rain down fucking terror from above. It's crazy. It's real fucked up. It's horrifying.
Which really were protecting our people. In fact, I got word from a source of mine who's monitoring this on open source, which it looks like the USS Abraham Lincoln is going to be repositioned to within anti-ship ballistic missile range of Iran. So either...
There's a whole bunch of repositioning of U.S. military assets and U.S. warships and an entire carrier because it seems like we didn't have enough shit in there to fight this conflict. It seems like we were acting on bad intelligence or in a rush, and suddenly we need a whole bunch more shit. And so basically the entire U.S. Global fleet is repositioning. A whole bunch of new planes are being brought in. A whole bunch of new infrastructure is being brought in, which is not something we would expect to see if we were prepared from the beginning.
The U.S. really believes we've degraded the Iranian capabilities sufficiently, or we're just throwing caution to the wind because we got to get this thing over before we run out of materials. And that'll probably start happening this weekend.
This is not a surprise to people who watched carefully the few days in the run-up to this conflict where there were uniformed servicemen. I mean, there were flag officers who apparently
That's
made
right.
this
By
case.
Semmer Kocher. Yes.
Exactly. That we just don't have the munitions
Yes.
to sustain any kind of real conflict.
So this post... Okay, cool.
They said that, right?
I was looking for
in fact,
that this
it is
post
my
I'm looking at was AI.
understanding, and this is, again, take from this what you will. It is my understanding that last Friday, the order went out at 3:38 p.m. Eastern. Before that, there was a, quote, particularly contentious meeting between General Dan Raisin Kane, who is Trump's handpicked chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He was pulled out of retirement by Trump. So this is Trump's guy. And Kane tried to get to the word to the president that this thing is not going to go like you think it is. This is not Venezuela. This is a very different operation. And the president, for whatever reason, still decided to ignore the best military advice he got and went forward with this. In turn, Vice Admiral Fred Kocher, who was an adjutant basically to Kane, leaked parts of that meeting to, I think it was Reuters. Now, the question that I've been hearing from people is, was that Kocher acting on his own volition, or was that in fact Kocher executing some kind of informal order from Dan Kane, because Kane is... The rest of the military is the high level is very worried about the blowback from this operation. And it is my contention that the permanent bureaucracy is desperately trying to push blame away from itself to the politicians, and even, as we're seeing Marco Rubio now, to Israel itself.
And Israel itself is not looking too hot. We don't need your music. Thank you very much. As imagery comes out after strikes through the night, Israel's getting hammered. We're getting little more footage every day coming through of strike zones in Israel. Footage of fire in Tel Aviv. Hezbollah struck Haifa Naval Base, Ramat David Air Base, and Tel HaShomer Base. Kuwait's Ali al-Salem base is on fire. Iran, having drained interceptor reserves and taking out radar installations, is now rolling out its newer missiles. Ben Gurion Airport was struck, though they tried to pretend that it wasn't. The Iron Dome doesn't seem to be doing much of anything. I actually saw a really interesting conspiracy theory post the other day that the Iron Dome is fucking fake. That was interesting. Had not heard that one before, but kind of a compelling argument that maybe we'll talk about.
Of Tel Aviv. An Iranian strike deep in the heart of Tel Aviv. For the fifth straight day, the skies above the city lit up as Israel's air defense system intercepted one Iranian missile after another.
And certainly, more damage is being done to Iran. That's going to always be the case in asymmetric warfare. But Iran doesn't need to do a whole lot of damage to the coalition in order to fuck shit up. And Iran has the infinitely defensible position. Iran is the defender. They just have to not all die. And we don't have any plan to get ground troops in there, which we should not do. We don't have any plan to affect regime change. We don't have any plan to effectively stop their nuclear capabilities, their nuclear production deep underground. All the bunker busters got used up. All the interceptors seem to be getting used up. And it looks like every day Israel and the allies are just more and more defenseless and more wide open.
Like, I don't know, but he said that we're depleted a little bit on the, and I'm paraphrasing, on the lower level weapons, but we've got enough higher end and middle tier weapons to fight forever. Well, the higher end weapons would be things like, I don't know, low yield nuclear weapons.
Right.
And, you don't want to think that an American president would go there, especially over something like this, where we weren't attacked, which we were not. And I'm not a fan of the Iranian regime, and they do support terror, but we were not attacked. The Israelis weren't even attacked. This was all sort of the machinations of Netanyahu's worst fears. It is my concern that if we truly are reaching depletion, that we might have an incident where a nuke is used. And, it's not the likeliest, but it's no longer impossible. It's now moved into sort of the realm of it could happen. And the longer this goes on and the more that we run through these stockpiles, And if we start losing planes to some of the remaining Iranian air defense systems, then we're going to have some problems. And I want to also say something about the strategic side. I was on.
That would be so fucked up. That is the worst case scenario on the fucking planet. There is absolutely no scenario where a nuke should be used right now. No. No. That would be one of the most truly concerning things in this entire, like, calm the fuck down, guys. I have no idea what China and Russia would do, but it would not be comfortable. Nothing would be comfortable. That is a worst case scenario. Cannot happen.
Did defense systems were in these Arab countries were sent over.
So this is what I was talking about our defense systems being redeployed to Israel.
Over to Israel.
Yeah.
And they actually left our own bases and people vulnerable. Our own government did, to protect Israeli targets.
And now they are covering up what looks like mounting U.S. casualty figures to try to hide the fact that they're sending all their defenses over to Israel to try to protect Israel and leaving our troops wide open.
It's rather than to protect our men and women in uniform.
Do you believe that's true? Do you believe the U.S. government prioritized Israel over our own troops?
If you had asked me this a year or two ago, I would have said no way. But after seeing that Huckabee interview, by the way, bravo. After seeing that Huckabee interview, I can't imagine how we didn't do that. I mean, it is very clear that.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get into the most recent, I believe, Tucker video. I think it's the most recent one. Yeah, from just a couple days ago.
Innocent of all, which are kids who are being told by adults that they could be killed for who they are. Now, think about that for a second. Think about a PR campaign or a propaganda campaign designed to make people terrified for their lives, which is what the Israeli campaign is, telling Americans that they could be killed, that anti-Semitism in the United States is so terrible, being ginned up by people like me and other people online, that they could be killed. Imagine, that's not true at all, but imagine being so unscrupulous that you would terrify kids in order to silence criticism of your territorial expansion campaign, which is
yeah, exactly what's happening. Propagandizing children. And actually, by creating the fear in Jews take the actions that incites more anti-Semitism because they squad up and get all Jewy about it, start freaking out, start trying to censor people's speech, start trying to take people's businesses away, start debanking people because like, oh my gosh, you're going to kill us. It's like, no one's going to fucking kill you. Just stop starting wars and stop trafficking our kids, blackmailing our politicians, and trying to censor our free speech. Just fucking stop. Just be a regular people. Just relax. There's plenty of Jews that have figured it out. Plenty of Jews that are just being regular people out here. But by propagandizing their people so hard and telling them that they're God's chosen, that they're specialer than everyone else, that's what you wind up with. Is with a death cult. A gigantic death cult that spans the globe, that is now fighting for its very survival by killing kids, bombing civilians, dragging a bunch of countries into potentially World War III, fucking with our rights and our government and our money. It's a giant mess. It's a giant mess.
Israel wants to be bigger. They want their regional rivals out of the way. They want to weaken the United States, get us out of the Middle East, and they want to weaken Western Europe, which they just hate for whatever reason.
Tucker is just getting more and more based every day, dude. Speaking the truth.
They truly hate Western Europe, which is one of the reasons the Israeli government has helped move migrants into Europe to weaken and destroy it. What is that? I don't really know the answer, but it's...
As well as into the United States. Looking at the Jewish refugee pipeline. Charlie Kirk knew about the Jewish refugee pipeline. The liberal Jewish organizations that are strung together all up South and Central America through Mexico right up to our border, and then helps with all of that on the American side as well. Look up Jewish Family Services. There's a whole network of Jewish NGOs that facilitate immigration, legal or otherwise.
It's demonstrable. They hate Western Europe. And so whatever their bizarre agenda is, in order to stop criticism of it, they're telling Americans, including children, that they could be killed.
Yep. Yes, sir. So he had Sagar on Jetty
is in question right now.
Sagar and Jetty.
Sagar's been doing great reporting throughout this.
Sagar, thank you very much for doing this. I've been thinking of you all week. Let's start just with the overview. What have you learned since this war began?
Well, Tucker, unfortunately, and I'm very sad to say this, is that our very sovereignty is in question right now. The Secretary of State made perhaps one of the most remarkable statements of my entire life and perhaps in modern history when he declared unequivocally that we are involved in this war as a result of the either inability or the adherence to an Israeli strike that was going to happen on Tehran. This reveals a lot of different things about our government, our structure. We were either unable to exert pressure on Israel to avoid such a war, we either acquiesced to it, and both are terrifying in their result because we are, of course, the global superpower, and Israel is a...
Not anymore, we're not. Not for a long time, we haven't been, it turns out. Actually, we're just a great global puppet. Actually. And Sagar, your mic sucks, bro. Come on, get it together. Get it together, bro.
This. We just got a very troubling jobs report, 92,000 losses in the economy. We actually saw unemployment tick up for native-born Americans. That is the very opposite of what Donald Trump wanted on the campaign trail. An oil analyst that I deeply respect, I spoke to him this morning. If the Straits of Hormuz remain closed, he projects oil at $200 per barrel. This is a disaster, a full-fledged disaster. The very day you and I are speaking, again, gas prices are at the highest price in Donald Trump's entire presidency. Now,
and remember, gas prices don't just affect the price that you're paying for gas at the pump. Gas prices affect everything. Food, healthcare, supplies, water, your mom. Dude, like everything runs on oil. And oil runs on the Jews wanting to take over Iran, apparently. So, more nuclear conversation.
Conditional surrender means foreign troops get to rape your wife and daughter if they want. And everyone knows that. And that has been, if there's one consistent lesson of history, it means unconditional surrender means foreign troops get to rape your wife and daughter. Everyone can feel that. That's like the most atavistic instinct there is. And so to avoid that, people will do anything. And so that's why it requires that level of force to get a population subdued to the point of unconditional surrender. That's why. And so in this case, of course, we don't have the ground force necessary. I don't think Americans would voluntarily participate in it. I just don't think we can do that. It would require weapons of mass destruction. It would require presumably nuclear weapons in order to do that. And let's not lie to ourselves. We're moving toward that.
Yes, and that is another important point that I think you have been highlighting here, is if you look at the decision matrix where everything is about upping the ante. A good friend of mine actually pointed out many of the Vietnam aspects that were already starting to climb. So you watch very quickly. We thought we could just decapitate the Ayatollah and they would crawl over and make a deal. It didn't happen. So then what happens? We have to start bombing.
Oh, I was tripping out, dude. Gigi's having the craziest dream in the other room right now. And she just was like chasing a fucking chicken or something in her dream. And she just started going like, burp, 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 burp. That was weird. I was like, what the fuck is that noise?
The police stations, the border guards, to be able to make sure that these Kurdish CIA-backed groups can make an incursion, that they can start their civil war in part of the country, distract the security force. At every step, when the Iranians reject an American overture, the natural choice of the American president will be escalation and bombing.
Because that's all that President Trump knows how to do. Because he doesn't know how to do anything except what Israel tells him to do. And we all know what Israel wants and what they will do to get it. And they have no qualms about using nuclear weapons to get it. So honestly, at this point, I would feel a lot safer if Iran did have a nuke. because I feel very unsafe with Israel pushing us closer and closer to the nuclear option just because they started a war that they couldn't fucking win. That's fucked up, dude. That's so fucked. They started it. They can't even fight it. That's like the most little bitch ass energy on the planet. And none of it would be happening. If Iran had nukes, there would be no war. Israel there would be no war. Israel's the problem here. Israel's the one that needs to be restrained. Israel's the one blackmailing everybody. Israel's the one threatening everybody. Israel's the one destroying everything. We all know it. All of America's waking up to it. Like, call me crazy, but if there was no Israel, none of this would have happened. Everyone would just be fucking having an economy out here. And the economy would probably have a lot less fucking, shall we say, financial crimes in it. A lot less digital mass surveillance in it.
Of the Iran war, Poland has now declared their intent to try to become a nuclear power, a nuclear armed state. France said they are going to increase the amount of nuclear weapons that they have under production, and they are no longer going to publicize them. South Korea and Japan are going to be having some very serious discussions around this. So in an ostensible war over a nuclear program, we've actually probably inspired more nuclear proliferation than even the war in Iraq, which I did not think was ever possible. So,
yeah, good point, Sagar.
Israeli empire to replace him.
The next several months. And so we're probably going to watch that happen now with Iran. It's the same dynamic that always plays out.
And the point, of course, is to build Israeli empire to replace American empire, which is dying, hastened by this war with Israeli empire. And
he's finally saying it. He's finally there. You are correct, Tucker. Yes, that is exactly what they're doing. That's exactly what's happening, and that's exactly what their goal is. Slowly sucking the host dry and attempting to rise from the ashes on the way down. This is their one shot. It's Israel's endgame. And we're all watching. We are all watching the parasite attempt to overtake the host and transform into the global superpower, into the global domination with their AI surveillance control grid based in Jerusalem, their Antichrist, built in their third temple, dominating the world with their non-existent nuclear program and their speech laws. All for your own good, you hateful bigot.
One thing I notice, I can't contain myself and have to express it, but when you say that the Israelis are destroying Beirut, which is, having been to a lot of places in the world, one of the prettiest places on the globe. Beirut is just a marvel. It's beautiful. It reminds me, and it's being destroyed by Israel, which is one of the single ugliest countries in the world. Nothing of beauty has been built there since 1948. Sorry.
That is a new statement for Tucker. Tucker, you have arrived. I've never been to Israel. I don't know how pretty it is, but I've seen videos. I've seen the street view. It don't look too hot. It's a fucking desert. It's a desert full of Jews killing kids. Yeah. That is a new statement for Tucker. And obviously the Jews online fucking lost their minds over that. Over everything.
Everywhere in that country, and it's true. That the nature of this emerging empire is destructive. And it always seems like beautiful things wind up being destroyed. Europe, right? Beirut, parts of Syria, the holy sites. Parts of Iran are apparently.
America. Yeah. Yeah, Tucker, you are getting there.
So as I said, I flew up to DC 3 times in the last month to try to convince Trump not to do this. It didn't work. It happens. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, boy.
3 times. 3 times.
This is not going to get better. So then I think, I'll fly up again and ask him. I mean, I don't know if anyone else is doing it, so I'm going to try.
Remember, the last guy that flew to the White House to stop war with Iran got shot in the neck. Well, got killed by something hitting him in the neck by Israel. Got killed by Israel. So pray for Tucker's safety. Even if you think he's the CIA, he's still the next guy that Israel's going to try to blow up in the neck. And he's doing very important things to try to fucking peacify this whole process and to try to wake people up to what exactly Israel is doing at great personal risk. And yeah, Charlie only went to the White House once to try to stop war with Iran. He did succeed, by the way. There was obviously more involved in his death than just stopping war with Iran. But Israel killed Charlie Kirk in part because of his shifting stance on Israel, his opposition to war with Iran, and probably some really sketchy money stuff with Bibi Netanyahu trying to take Turning Point to the next level. And you look at how all of the Israeli shills on the internet talk about Tucker Carlson today, and it is not good. It is not good. Pray for this man's safety.
To just declare victory and go home. Like you killed an 86-year-old cleric. Let's just call that a win and then pull back. And so then meantime, he got convinced to denounce me. Okay. I don't care. I'm going to fly up anyway and see him, right? Even though he's like denouncing me. So I call over there to see, call someone who knows him to see. I said, I'm just going to fly up anyway and tell him this because I think it's so important. And the person says, don't bother because he's being shown polling that this war is like a 90-10 win for him. And I said, I don't know where that polling is coming from. It's like,
it's coming from Israel. It's coming, rewind. It's not coming from Israel. It's coming from a bunch of Jews in America. That's the uncomfortable truth. It's coming from a bunch of neocons and Jews and good goy that are all getting paid by Israel that are controlling the president's information space. This is classic espionage. This is treason. If you're putting fake foreign reporting in front of the president's face to control what he thinks, that's treason. And you should be hanged for that. You are directly responsible for the deaths of thousands of civilians in the Middle East, of countless U.S. service members that are dying that we're not being told about, of all of this, and of all the downstream consequences, the economic consequences, etc. Treason.
I guess you could make any kind of poll, and he's watching Fox News, which is telling him the same thing, and he's getting fake polling. I guess they're only polling Sean Hannity's viewers or something.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure that there's a sense, as if this was yesterday, because I was getting so agitated and worried. I don't think that there's a sense that this is unpopular. Like I think there's an information vacuum here.
There's a massive information vacuum, and
it's not an information vacuum. It's a fucking espionage. It's an espionage operation. That is a foreign intelligence operation controlling the mind of our president. That's what it is. It's not like a whoopsies. That is a different nation infiltrating and controlling the office of the president right in front of our eyes. Wide open. That used to be the CIA's job. It used to be the CIA's job to deceive the president to get us into foreign wars. Now, it's Israel's. And they're a lot better at it than the CIA ever was.
And, for the president and the administration who declared victory based on internet and vibes and podcasts, let's take a survey, shall we, of every podcast that he appeared on, and how do they feel about the Iran conflict.
That's a good idea,
You can look
Sagar.
very clearly for yourself. You can look at a lot of the polling of that same demographic, which they were very excited about, young men in particular. How are they feeling about this conflict? And, if you were saying 90-10, it's not.
You could look at Charlie Kirk's own fucking poll from before they killed him, and it was 90-10. 90% against war in Iran.
not even true in a Republican sense. I mean, the latest one that I saw was like 72% Republicans, which, by the way, Mr. President and everybody in the administration, Bush had 93 for Iraq. And how did that turn out for him? So let's not put all of our eggs in the basket of just because Republican voters are here, that this is all going to be like sunshine and roses. And I also would not make the spurious claim that it's all about Iran. It's about compounding effects. The gas price effect of the Iran conflict is going to be dramatically more important to the White House's political chances in the midterms than anything that's actually happening on.
Sorry, I can't talk about the midterms. Don't give a fuck. Fake 90-10 polling. The revolution has failed.
It's been found.
Yeah, never mind. What revolution?
It doesn't seem accidental. I don't really think they criminalize as their opinions are crimes. They are literally thought crimes. Yeah. And I've just noticed because
What's up, my fellow thought crimers? What's up, my fellow criminals? How you doing out there, fellow criminals? Yeah, we don't give a fuck. We're out here on kicking around thought crimes, apparently. Free speeching. Can't do that no more. No, sir. You're going to have to lock me up. Sorry.
I've been at the center of it, this effort.
You lock me up, Gigi will take over the show, and Gigi will fucking sit here and drop thought crimes on you all day fucking long. If you think I'm bad, you have no idea how anti-Semitic Gigi has become. Gigi's based as fuck, dude. I go down, Gigi takes over, dude. And Gigi goes max.
Over the past year to criminalize attitudes. And when I was first called an anti-Semite, I remember thinking, well, I'm actually not. And so I don't know why you're calling me that. And I was annoyed or whatever, but...
Isn't it cute to look back on Tucker like 4 months ago doing whole shows about how he wasn't an anti-Semite just to like try to defend against the bullshit made up fucking Hasbara? And now it's like, all right, whatever. Let's just talk for real. Who the fuck cares what Hasbara they're going to throw? Doesn't matter. We all see it. We know what it is. Made up words.
The insistence with which these forces are labeling people with the slander anti-Semite, it doesn't seem accidental. I don't really think they care if you're an anti-Semite or not. I mean, Israel's very close to the Zelensky government, which supports actual Nazis. So, like, they don't care if you're an anti-Semite. This is an effort to set the stage for prosecutions. That's what I'm starting to think. Do you think that's too paranoid?
No, not at all. Well, first of all, we literally deported people for being critical of Israel. That actually happened already under this government. We are having the Department of Justice, the Attorney General, get involved in campus incidents around so-called anti-Semitism. That
based Sagar, fucking based Sagar, 100%. Yes,
is the
0 Epstein arrests, 0 Epstein prosecutions. But don't you fucking criticize God's chosen people.
Machine and the groundwork, which could be laid for exactly what you're talking about. But then let's look. We recognize this. If you live through the woke revolution, let's think about the way that this works now with so-called anti-Semitism, as they accuse you. It's all about escalation. So first, you're being defined as an anti-Semite. In more your recent comments, what did they say? That you're trying to incite violence against a specific organization. Incitement of violence is actually a very specific term. So what does that mean? An imminent threat, which means that they want to be able to have an FBI agent come and knock on your door to ask you either to clarify what you're asking about or potentially prosecute you for your alleged comments that are around this. Each one is a step in a ground to make and to lay the groundwork to make it so that such a case could eventually be brought and in an insane time. And when we have, look, we're at the very beginnings of this conflict. Who knows how long it goes? I pray it just ends. But again, all through history, it only usually gets worse whenever it comes to censorship and demands. I mean, already this entire conversation, you and I know, will be branded as anti-Semitic and pro-Iran. These are...
Yeah. And just imagine what it is when Israel rules the world with their AI overlord censorship technology, with their Palantir control grid. Hope y'all are ready. We're going to have a wild party in prison together. It's going to be great. It's going to be fucking great. Oh, cool. They talked about the Pentagon versus Anthropic AI dispute. Shout out to Anthropic.
I mean, will the government find people? Look at the situation with Anthropic and Claude, right? I mean, you have this showdown between the Pentagon and Anthropic over the use of AI, their technology, in a time of war, demands over human oversight. The government's basically saying that's unacceptable. You don't get to dictate those terms to us. They can blacklist you as a company, literally blacklist you for not agreeing to those terms. That's fine. That's their right. But think about that. I mean, they're basically saying that not only are they not going to use the tech, they're not blacklisted from all U.S. government contractors, which is massively, massively impactful to their entire.
Yeah, we got someone making the hoots. We're going to have a good goy party in prison together, homies. Don't you worry about it. Yeah, we'll go down swinging. Don't you worry. We'll still be speaking the truth. Come at me, bro. Prison food is better than kosher food. Well, actually, kosher food is suspiciously not full of poison. You guys been seeing the memes that are going viral now about how all the goy are buying kosher food because they've realized that the kosher food doesn't have all the fucking goy poison in it? That's awkward. People are waking up. The noticing is taking effect. So, huge shout out to Tucker for all of the risks he's taking, the hard work, the based words, the good journalism. Now, I think the last thing we're going to watch today is our boy Valhalla dropping in hard on Lindsey Graham. Lighten the mood a little bit. It's always good to make fun of Lindsey Graham. In hard times, Lindsey Graham will always provide comedic relief amidst the horror show.
But if Middle Eastern wars aren't your flavor, just like women aren't Lindsey Graham's, maybe you're into Latin America more.
Maduro, everybody talked about him. Well, Donald Trump's got him in jail. Cuba's next. They're going to fall. This communist dictatorship in Cuba, their days are numbered.
Cuba's next. My bad. Didn't realize that we had to go bomb and overthrow the regime in Cuba as well. At least Lindsey's thinking forward.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Lindsey Graham always moving the needle, always pushing the envelope.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. And today we're going to talk about little American psycho Lindsey Grinder Graham. Because yes, Lindsey is
solid nickname
everywhere in the news media lately during this conflict. I don't know why. And every time you look around, he's attached to the hip of old Trump. It seems like the only person that's got more.
Nate's getting pretty good with the AI. Not going to lie.
More control over foreign policy in this country is this guy. But what has this little closeted neocon lunatic been up to recently? Well, looks like committing treason as well as advocating for the bombing of about 47 different countries. Because the only thing that gets Lindsey Graham harder than bombing brown people is the Grinder meetup at CPAC. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Helps the channel. Also get a free. There has been some reporting that it sounds like about 2 weeks ago, before the war kicked off, Donald Trump sent Lindsey Graham to Saudi Arabia to meet with the Crown Prince, MBS, to try and talk him into supporting the war, because it would make sense. Yes, Saudi Arabia, very important, considering right across the Strait of Hormuz is Iran, and they could be highly affected by this war. And it sounds like Saudi Arabia told Lindsey Graham, absolutely fucking not. So where's the treason come in? Well, it sounds like what Lindsey Graham did was went back to America and Donald Trump and lied and told them, yes, MBS is all on board, which would be literal treason. And then we were told by
an awful lot of treason going around these days, don't you think?
The administration that Saudi Arabia was all on board. Not only that they were going to enter the conflict alongside us. However, that also turned out to be a fucking lie. This is really what's going on. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the UAE are considering dropping U.S. contracts and ending economic ties with the United States. And that should.
Yeah. Those are our actual allies. Those are the ones that actually let us have military bases in the Middle East. Those are the ones that actually provide critical oil connections to us, critical dollar supremacy capabilities. Fucking them over real good.
Should be fantastic for gas prices because they're also almost $8 a gallon in LA in the first week of the war. Now, you may be wondering, how did we get here? Lindsey Graham used to be a massive never-Trumper, absolutely hated his guts, and now, I mean, you can't get these two apart. Best friends, of course. Well, let's take a little trip down memory lane, and I'll explain to you how we got to where we are now.
What is your reaction to hearing what Donald Trump says?
I'm disgusted. Well, I want to talk to the Trump supporters for a minute. I don't know who you are, and I don't know why you like this guy. I think what you like about him, he appears to be strong when the rest of us are weak. He's a very successful businessman, and he's going to make everything great. He's going to take all the problems of the world and put them in a box and make your life better. That's what he's selling. Here's what you're buying. He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. He doesn't represent my party.
A few moments later.
That Donald Trump, in my opinion, is the gold standard for Republicans, maybe any president. And
Wait, what? Donald Trump doesn't represent my party, and then Donald Trump's the gold standard of my party. How could? Well, let me show you what Trump was saying back when Lindsey hated him.
We should have never gone into the Middle East. We should have never gone into the Middle East. Under my leadership, we will turn the page forever. One of those foolish, stupid days of never-ending wars.
We're rebuilding our military stronger than ever before, and we are not going to deplete it again on stupid, senseless, endless wars.
Oh, well, that's right. That was or anti-neocon Donald Trump when Lindsey Graham hated him. But who's the Trump that we have now? Yes.
The Jewish one. The fucking Jewish one. We've got Jew Trump now. And it ain't going so good for America. Hashtag send Barron. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Times have changed. And since nobody has any idea why we're even in this war to begin with, at least Lindsey should be able to explain it to us.
It's a religious war. Who wins it at the end of the day? Do the radical Islamic terrorists who want to kill all the Jews because God told them to? Who want to kill me because I'm an infidel?
Oh, it's
because you're gay?
It's a religious war. It's a holy war. Because I thought that it was, we were maybe supposed to be stopping their ambitions that they don't even have anymore, so right, because they're obliterated, or it's the ballistic missiles, or even like funding terrorist proxies. But no, they just let the cat out of the bag, just told the truth. It's a religious war. Great. And when Lindsey's got some time off of his main hobby and his main career, which is hanging out at the local men's bathhouse, he also again is advocating for bombing literally everyone.
So I'm calling on President Trump today. Join Israel to attack Hezbollah. Avenge the Marines. America never forgets. Those 220 Marines and 18 sailors' families.
Dude, you know what the best reality TV show ever would be? Like, drop Lindsey Graham in the middle of nowhere in the Middle East with nothing but the clothes on his back, and then just follow him around with cameras. Actually, that'd probably get pretty dark pretty fast. I don't think I'd want to watch that now that I'm thinking it through. Yeah. It might get one good episode before it goes off air. But it would be less than what he deserves. It'd be homo and afraid.
We want to go after the infrastructure that killed your loved ones.
We got to bomb Lebanon now. Oh, okay. And you may be a little bit confused when you hear 200 and something dead Marines. I didn't hear an announcement on that. Well, yeah, that's because he's talking about this. So, okay, we're basing our foreign policy off things that happened nearly half a decade ago. Okay. But if...
Well, he is like 80 fucking years old, so I mean...
Middle Eastern wars aren't your flavor, just like women aren't Lindsey Graham's. Maybe you're into...
I want to see those cute, sweaty, anorexic little Iranian boys just take it all.
Latin America more.
Maduro, everybody talked about him. Well, Donald Trump's got him in jail. Cuba's next. They're going to fall. This communist dictatorship in Cuba, their days are numbered.
On bills, as you can see, Liberty score here for old Lindsey, 43% F. 60% of the time, he votes against conservative values. And again, to my point, he is now the face of MAGA.
Does not align with Christian values. Killing children, killing mothers,
Well, to be honest
killing
with
families
you,
who are not militants.
Yeah, I don't buy that at all.
Why?
Because what did we do in World War II? Did we think 1 minute about starving the Germans? Did we bomb every city into smithereens? To the world, if you don't understand this is
one of the most demonic things that's been said into camera in the last year, and that's like a really high bar. This is such a fucked up interview to look at his fucking face and to look him in the eyes. Look at how much can I say that on camera? Imagine what he must do with his free time when only Israeli cameras are rolling in order to sustain this much demonic energy inside of his soul.
It's a threat to Israel.
And then they flattened.
Just flatten it. We flattened Berlin. We flattened Tokyo.
Okay, total lunatic. And you may be wondering, well, why was Senator Lindsey Graham ever even sent to Saudi Arabia to discuss war plans to begin with? He's not the Secretary of State. He's not an ambassador. He's not the Secretary of Defense. He's just a senator from South Carolina. You'd think he'd be more focused on what's going on in his own state, because South Carolina is...
His state is Israel, and he's very focused on it. He's extremely focused on it.
Not doing well. And it turns out that Lindsey says, I come here every 2 weeks. Lindsey Graham on our greatest ally, while South Carolina ranks 42nd nationally in education, healthcare, and child well-being. So really looking after.
Yeah, how's those fucking hurricane repairs and relief going? They literally are still trying to rebuild their own shit, and he's over in Israel.
His own people well. Oh, South Carolina, not sure what you're doing. Might want to figure that out. We'll talk about that in a minute. But again, Lindsey Graham trying to bring upon World War III. We've all seen that. And I think there's been some really great takes about if we really wanted to bring in world peace, this is probably how we'd have to do it.
The only way that we will actually achieve lasting world peace is if Lindsey Graham finally comes out. If he finds a husband, gets a small little yappy dog, and lives out the rest of his days on a big front porch in Charleston sipping sweet tea.
I like not Daily Wire Brett Cooper a lot more. Keep it going, Brett. Yeah. Free Brett. Fuck yeah, dude. It's crazy how leaving the Daily Wire can make you 1,000 times better in every way. Matt Walsh, you should try it. You fucking cuck.
And staying out of our business.
Wow. Brett Cooper based AF, huh? Please, Lindsey, just come out the closet. And honestly, if we could tie these two together, let them retire together in South Carolina, a nice plantation where they can sit on the porch and sip.
Nah, let's try them both for treason. Let's try BB for war crimes, Lindsey for treason. Let's not let them just have the gay ending to the movie. Let's not do that.
Sweet tea together. At least maybe the world wouldn't be in flames. Let's see what old Lindsey's own coworkers have to say about him.
You next, ma'am. Go ahead, brother.
Senator Lindsey Graham is now calling for the U.S. to start bombing Lebanon in response to the Hezbollah IDF action.
Lindsey hadn't seen a fist fight he hasn't wanted to turn into a bombing raid, so I just take it with a grain of salt, dude. Yep.
However, we probably should take him seriously because, again, he is the one that is actually telling Donald Trump what to do with this war. Absolute insanity. And so what can we do about it? Well, South Carolina, it's your time.
Yeah. There's reporting coming out now that Lindsey Graham actually gave BB Lindsey Graham advised Netanyahu. Let me see if I can pull up this article. These are the kinds of headlines that are going around now. As of yesterday, Lindsey Graham brags about colluding with Netanyahu to manipulate Trump into war with Iran. Seemingly bragged about colluding with Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu to manipulate President Trump into bombing Iran. According to Graham, he spent months lobbying, holding private conversations with foreign leaders, and coordinating media pushes to persuade the president to authorize strikes against Iran. I mean, tell us something we didn't know. Graham told the Wall Street Journal that the campaign started just after Trump won the 2024 presidential election when the two went golfing. That's fucking treason. That's treason. Actually. And I hope that he gets everything that he fucking deserves. All of it. So, that is the status of America, of war with Iran. That's pretty much where we're at. And it ain't good. Are you feeling how great America is, chat? Is America feeling great again to you? You feeling good about it? United we stand. Yeah. Pretty much. Pretty much. So let's wrap this puppy up with a brief hype track, a brief shout out. The Webb is on its way. If you don't know, me and my boys made an app that lets you read through all of the Epstein files with the power of AI, so you can just search in natural language and have it decoded with sources, with original documentation, the entire Epstein compilation. We are also adding currently the 9/11 files, the Dancing Israeli files, the DEA report, all of it. All that's going to be searchable in the exact same way. We also are adding document upload capability so that you can upload your own documents to Webb and do your own investigations into whatever it is you want to learn about, whatever you want to organize, whatever you want the power of Webb to apply to, you got it. It is currently turned off for the weekend. We're getting it ready for public launch next week. I am so freaking stoked. And I used it with back-end plugins that I've got to build an entire Epstein tracker of almost every day of his life, day by day, recording his travels, documented in his own files, his own emails, his own schedules and reports from Lindsey Graham and stuff like that, his flight logs, etc., tracking him all around the world, everywhere that he was, every single day. It's fucking sick. And we're going to try to plug that in and make that available too to the public, because it doesn't just make a really sick intro to the live stream, it also makes a really sick tool for decoding Epstein. So Webb is on its way. Super stoked. Thanks to all the beta testers. We had free beta testing going for like 2 weeks, and everybody crushed it. It was so cool to get everybody's feedback, to kind of test it slowly, building, and now it's like impenetrable and ready for the masses. It's ready for just mass use. Super stoked. So stoked for the team. Really proud of all the hard work they did. Cannot wait for that to come back out for everybody publicly. Also, I'd be remiss to not mention that this is the same team that brought you the Buyer app. If you don't know, the Buyer app is a free download that me and my team made. You can get it off the App Store, Google Play Store, scan any item in the grocery store and find out who owns it, what company owns it. Are you supporting a company that's owned by BlackRock, or are you supporting a family and founder-owned business? And you can use it to do whatever you want. We're not telling you how to use it. We're just giving you the information. Personally, I use it to help find more family and founder-owned businesses to support, so that my money is supporting American companies, local companies, founder-owned companies, instead of shoveling money off into the corporate coffers of the bankers. The people that run the world. So shout out to Buyer app. Download it for free on the App Store or the Google Play Store. Brought to you by the same team of just me and 3 homies that are bringing you Webb, coming at you this week. And I've just been playing around, vibe coding up a storm, making the Jeffrey Epstein tracker while I wait. And oh boy, has it kept me busy, and have I had fun with that. That's all of the sponsors we got. They're all just me. I don't take any ads. I don't take any sponsors. I don't take any financial support from outside like companies or NGOs or agencies or anything. It's literally just me and Gigi and a couple homies, and we're just vibe coding up. Well, I'm vibe coding up a storm over here while I wait for my actual developer homies to like actually produce the real shit. So that's what I got for you. Thank you for your support, and thanks for tuning in. It means the world. Feel free to clip it. Feel free to share it. Feel free to spread it around. Spread the truth. Wake people up. Wake people the fuck up, because they need to know now what's really going on. They need to know the truth about 9/11. They need to know the truth about the Iran war. They need to know the truth about Jeffrey Epstein. And they need it with primary sources. They need it with documentation. They need to be able to look into it for themselves and understand it for themselves and get outside of the Hasbara propaganda matrix narrative that has been spun for decades and decades and decades, for our entire lives, really. So, while speech is still legal, we're going to be doing it. So if you're not already subscribed, subscribe on Kick or Twitch, wherever you are. Kick is where we do most of our homie shows. I'll probably be clipping this and putting it out on YouTube as well. Make sure you have the bell clicked for notifications so that you don't miss the live streams, because I don't really announce them. I don't really plan them out. I just go live when I got shit to talk about. And today is Sunday, March 8th. I'm actually moving locations again this week. So there'll be a bit of a break this week while I get set up again, and we will be back for Free Speech Friday. I might get one more live stream in before I have to go, but it's going to be a big move this time. I got to pack the van real tight and leave space for Gigi to have a couch. So if you don't see me, you'll at least see me for Free Speech Friday, and hopefully we will have Webb all good to go and launched for you. I cannot wait. Sounds like Barron is about to go live. Baron Coleman has been dropping the fucking fire. Barron and Candace have been blasting through the Charlie Kirk investigation, blasting on Erica's really mysterious past. And I've been following along, even though I've been working on this other stuff, doing this other reporting. Barron and Candace have been crushing it, and I've been keeping up and taking notes. So I'll probably be over there in the Barron chat watching along with you guys. Huge shout out to Barron. No, Baron Coleman, guys. Baron Coleman, not Baron Trump. Come on. Baron Coleman, scheduled apparently for right now. So if you don't know about Baron Coleman, get on over to the Baron Coleman YouTube channel. Scheduled for 5 o'clock p.m. in 24 minutes. Lying Liars Who Lie at Real Baron Podcast on YouTube. It's going to be a banger, as always. And that is going to do it for tonight. Thanks for being here, and thanks for the support. Don't forget to drink some water, do something nice for someone, tell them you love them, be a good person, and fuck Israel.
Conspiracy theories are entering a dangerous... Information is the oxygen of the democracy.
There's so much evidence out there that even if less than 1% is true, that would be enough to collapse the current paradigm.